Okay, so for my make up a quiz project video, I did the nomenclature one because I got, as you can see, out of 20, not very well. For number one, the problem was MGBR, and I wrote it with a 2, but I did not need that. I only needed this one because it's always going to be 2, so we don't need to write it. Same for barium, it's always going to be 2, so we don't need to write it. Always going to be 3 for calcium, we don't need to write it in the ending situation. Now as we go to 8, that's not the same. Oops. As we go to 8, that's the opposite, where we're not sure. It can be multiple different things, whereas these are usually the same thing. These can be multiple different things, so you have to write cobalt 2 sulfate, not just cobalt sulfate heptahydrate. It's cobalt 2 sulfate heptahydrate. For 9, it's HClO4. I just wrote chloric acid, but it needs to be perchloric acid because it has an extra oxygen instead of the base acid. And then for this one, H3PO4, I wrote hydrogen 4 phosphate because I wasn't quite sure. That was wrong. The real answer is phosphoric acid because it's a phosphorus. You can't see me pointing. It's a phosphorus. There's a phosphorus right here, and then the H's and O's. When there's an H, it's always an acid. Like when there's an H at the front, it can be an acid. And this is the phosphorus. It has more periodic table. I gotta reach for my periodic table. Wondering if you can see this. Phosphorus is P. Right. You can't see that. And it mixes with O, PO, and H is makes it acidic when it releases H. So it's an acid. And then magnesium cyanide, I wrote MgCN, but the charge of Mg is actually Mg2. Other side. It's in the second column, so it's +2. Back up a little bit. +2 right there. So it's Mg, and then it's Mg, like in parentheses, like 2, like this, Mg2, Br, because it always has to be 2, and you don't have to write it, but it's like you don't have to write it here. It's Mg, and then there's 2 Cn to balance out the 1 Mg, because Cn has a charge of -1, and Mg has a charge of +2. And for this one, I messed up because I was thinking that this is sulfuric acid and this is water, and in the other ones it's like hydro or heptahydrate or all this stuff. But when we have hydro, oops, oh shoot, I'm not sure why so many G's just appeared. Hydrosulfuric, because whenever an acid begins with a hydro, it's not the whole thing. It's just the element and the hydrogen. So yeah.